The United Stands, I'm Mark Goldbridge, and this is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news. We've got a bit of breaking news coming in about Yoro from Lille, the centre-back, and potential interest from Manchester United. We'll certainly be picking up on that, hot off the press. But we are going to be talking about Amrabat. There are stories that he will be released despite recent form. We'll talk about the technicalities around that, how much it would cost to keep him. There's an active poll for you to vote. Get in the comments as well. Also, a story around Jadon Sancho. Apparently, he's bought a very expensive property down the road, at the end of the road for Sancho from Ten Hag. So could that mean or indicate that he might be coming back and staying at Manchester United? What does that mean for his relationship with United fans? Does that mean we don't go for Elise? Would you rather have Sancho or Elise? Crystal Palace yesterday put a Twitter tweet out, or an X, whatever you want to call it, deleted it about Elise. We'll be talking about that. We've got an Italian club, a new Italian club in for Mason Greenwood. There is a collection of clubs looking at Greenwood. Is it looking good for moving him on and bringing some much needed funds into our summer transfer window? Also want to talk to you about the Sporting Lisbon midfielder that I can't pronounce, Hjumland. He's been speaking about his future. He's somebody that Manchester United have been considering as well. We've also got bits on Rabiot as well, who is out of contract in the next few weeks and still considered to be a target for Manchester United. Plus a lot more as well. Lots to get into on the show this morning. Exciting as well. You know, I mean, I've got a bit of a headache this morning. I'm in my t-shirt. I'm feeling a little bit rough, but not rough enough that I can't do a show with you good people. But I am genuinely starting to feel quite excited. I mean, the reality is, a week tomorrow, we won't have any games to look forward to anymore. It will just be a summer transfer window. Now, will Man United announce the sacking of Ten Hag, or will they announce they're backing Ten Hag? It's back or sack or crack. Well, I don't know what the third option would be, but what is it? Back, sack and crack. I'm sure some of you out there know what that's all about. I could never comment on that. But it is an exciting time, and I've got to be honest, from what I'm hearing around Man United, I'm really excited about this summer and what's coming. I don't know what's coming. Like, it's not like it really is Christmas morning, you've got a sack full of presents. I don't know what those presents are going to be. You know, they could be socks. They could be Lynx Africa. You know, they could be a half bottle of, Malibu, which did happen to my stepdad once. You know, it could be anything. But I am excited about it. And there is a determination, I think, for Manchester United to try and do things better. Mr. Pip says, I can't believe I've been a member for 50 months now. Cheers for all the years of great content. Thank you very much. You're a legend, mate. Morning, Mark. Can you call my wife a prat for giving me and my toddler the flu? Says Clayton Daniels. Oh, dear. Well, I tell you what. A day of rest is not necessarily a bad thing. We've got you covered on the United Stand. We've got the morning show. We've got the preview for Brighton coming up a little bit later. And tonight at 10 o'clock on That's Football, it's Alexander Usyk against Tyson Fury, and we're doing a bloody watch-along. I can't wait. I like my boxing when it's the big ones. I've done them before, and I think tonight's so exciting. So if you're going to be watching the boxing and you want the watch-along with, you're having a house party or whatever, or you might be ill in bed, get ready for that. Right, let's hit into the show. We're going to start off about Amrabat. Interestingly, we've got an active poll going on at the moment. 68% of you would keep Amrabat. Right, let me just give you the background to the Amrabat situation, and then I'm going to give you the latest news is that he could well be staying in the Premier League, but not at Manchester United. Both Fulham and Crystal Palace and a third club have expressed strong interest in Amrabat, who apparently wants to stay in the Premier League. Now, he'll be 28 in August. He's got 1 year left on his deal at Fiorentina. Manchester United paid 10 million euros for Amrabat on August the 31st for the year loan. And as part of that, they wanted to buy him permanently, but because of FFP, they didn't. So they agreed a deal where they've got a first refusal, and all we've got to do is pay another 15 million euros, and he's our player. So we've given them 10 million euros for the loan, another 15 million euros, and he's our player. So I'm looking at this now, and it's blowing my mind, because I'm sort of thinking, well, you've basically paid quite a lot of money for a player that you've really not used. 10 million euros has, nowhere near have we got anything out of that. You've basically paid half his transfer fee. 15 million euros is about 12.5 million pounds. And you've got Amrabat permanently. Do you give the 15 million? Well, Shane Smith says you do. Well, look, the latest coming out this morning is that Man United are not going to, follow through and take that deal permanently. They're going to send him back to Fiorentina, who will easily get 15 million euros. So they won't lose. I mean, for Fulham, you get Amrabat for 15 million euros. For Crystal Palace, you get him for 15 million euros, which is 12.5 million quid. So it's a weird one. I'm actually undecided. Stian says it's a mistake. They're wrong, says Ray. A lot of people have said, let's not do another Sabitzer. I'm undecided on this because I always think of singing outside Old Trafford, the video's there, Ollie's at the wheel, give him a contract. The most stupid thing we did as a fan base. We jumped on the bandwagon and went, Ollie's at the wheel, give him a contract. Rio was there, write it down. And Ed Wood would give him the contract. And immediately it fell apart. So you've got to be very careful of hype trains. You've got to be very, very careful of hype trains. And Amrabat's had 2 good games in a row. Man of the match against Arsenal and played very, very well against Newcastle. I want to see him playing against Brighton tomorrow. And if he plays well in that, I want to see him play well again. I want to see him play against Man City. And if he comes out of those 4 games continually playing well, pay the 15 million euros. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, I've got a really good idea here. Sell McTominay for 25, 30 million and buy Amrabat for 12.5 million. You've still got 17.5 million profit. And they're around the same age. And McTominay, we can make a profit on, pure profit on FFP. So I'm thinking, get rid of McTominay for 30 million, pay the 12.5 for Amrabat. You've got your squad midfielder there, and you can go and get your other midfielders as well. That's what I would do. But what I would say is the Amrabat thing, we as fans probably can't really assess it because he's had injury issues through the season. He's had fitness issues through the season. He has been injured a lot. Like, he has been not available a lot. And he's only just getting into the team at the end of the season when people start playing for new contracts. So there are mitigating circumstances here. Lots of players start playing really well at the end of a deal because they want to get another club. He has been out a lot of the season. There's been countless games where Eriksen or McTominay have been preferred to him as a holding midfielder. So there is a story there that we're not really aware about. What's the personality? What's the mentality? What's the consistency? And if he's failed on those things, then he has to go. Like, he does have to go. But I don't have the answer to that, and nobody else does. All we know at the moment is that it's looking unlikely that Man United will extend at the moment. But the last week might have changed things, and he probably will stay in the Premier League because there are the likes of Fulham and Crystal Palace and another club that are expressing an interest in him. And I think he'd do a very good job for them. But playing for Fulham or Crystal Palace is obviously very different to playing to Manchester United. But financially, it's 15 million euros, and he's a permanent Man United player. So, and also, I suppose it depends as well. We haven't even mentioned this. What other players we're looking at? Because if you're looking at Ederson from Atalanta, or you're looking at Gomez from Wolves, then they are potentially better options for Manchester United, aren't they? 15 million is a steal today, and we can get rid of everyone, says, and we can't get rid of everyone, says Stephen. Sorry, there we go. What's the deadline to make a decision on Amrabat? Could we wait and explore the market and then have him as a contingency, says Kieran. I would say that a loan deal would end at the end of June. That would be my thing. Robert McCormack makes a great point. He says he ain't picking him against City. I don't think he'll pick him against City. I'm with Robert on this. I think you get Varane and Martinez back at centre-back. He'll push Casemiro into the midfield with Mainu and Bruno, and that'll be it. He'll be out of the team. So, rightly or wrongly, I agree with Robert with that. There ain't no way he'll put Casemiro on the bench. And I think that's dangerous. I think the way Casemiro's playing at the moment, he's almost been a little bit of a sabotage. He's sabotaging results. No, I don't think he's doing it on purpose, but his concentration just isn't there. But there you go. Dal says, I'm excited for our future. Thank you, Dal. Reese, welcome to the Members Club. Absolute legend. Paul Woolley says, if they go for Southgate, that's crack. There we go. Right, we've got lots to get into this morning. 67% of you would keep Amrabat, though. It's going to be very interesting. Get in the comments and let us know about that. Right, I'm going to go to a little bit of breaking news here. We have got so much to go through this morning involving Rabiot, Sancho, Hjumland, Greenwood and others. But there was a story that came out just before I went live about Yoro, the centre-back at Lille. Very, very, very talented player, and a player that gets many of you excited. So Man United are among the clubs interested in Lille defender Lenny Yoro. It's believed that Lille will accept offers in the region of 45 to 50 million euros, but it could be higher depending on competition. So this has come out from Court Offside, which is a football outlet. Romano does articles for them, Christian Falk, etc. It's not coming in from them, but that's the outlet, just to give you a bit of background. I think it's important that we start doing that for the summer transfer window. Look, very, very interesting profile of player. And we certainly need that type of a centre-back at Manchester United. Exactly, a lot of people are saying this is the sort of youth sort of centre-back that we should be looking to bring into the football club. And, you know, it would be very, very exciting. We're going to get a lot of stories this summer transfer window, and you're going to get a lot of honesty and reality because we've done it as a community for so long. And I don't mind stories like this. I don't mind getting excited about stories like this. But we also have to be realistic about stories like this. The story has always been that he's going to Real Madrid. This has been a story in Madrid for 9 months, that they're looking at Yoro as another Varane. Remember, Varane was a player that we were linked to under Sir Alex Ferguson when he was playing in France. And Manchester United were looking at that deal, and Real Madrid did it. Real Madrid's current recruitment profile is amazing. Every single year, they're bringing in a young talent, whether it's Tchouaméni, Bellingham, Vinicius Jr., Rodrigo, Camavinga. They do it every year. And I don't think they'll miss out on this one either. They've been linked to him for a very long time, and I think that's where he's going to end up. Now, look, this is what I talk about excitement, because if it's Manchester United versus Real Madrid will win. But we've seen Ineos do things around Barada that's quite exciting, taking somebody away from Man City. And I'm sure there will be deals across this summer transfer window where we go, wow, that's really impressive. And maybe Yoro could be one of those. But at the moment, I would just say yes, it's an interesting player to be linked to, but I would expect him to be going to Real Madrid. But look, a young, exciting centre-back that people like Real Madrid are looking at, there's no doubt he's an exciting talent. I'm not 100% sure on his contract situation, but look, 50 million and a bidding war is quite a lot for an 18-year-old. So, you know, it's he's only just starting his career, and I don't know whether I don't think that's the sort of player that Man United are going to go for. If I'm being completely honest, I really do not think that we will go for an 18-year-old centre-back for 50 million quid. I just don't think we're going to do that. It would be nice to do that, but are we at that point yet? I think more likely you will see Premier League established players like Branthwaite, who will cost you a little bit more, but not a lot more. Todibo will be cheaper and is more experienced. I don't see us going for Yoro, if I'm being completely honest. Could Frankie de Jong still be on, says Sanel? I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think he... I mean, look, he's the player that Ten Hag obsesses about, but he's not. We're not the club that Frankie de Jong obsesses about. Rob says, I'm Ten Hag in, but I'm worried about his transfer policy. Anthony, Onana and Mount have been terrible. Releasing De Gea cost us the Champions League, says Rob. Great point, Rob, but Sir Alex Ferguson's recruitment was terrible at times. Pep's recruitment has been terrible at times. Liverpool's recruitment has been terrible at times. Like, I think we need to get our heads out our arse and realise that managers making bad signings is not actually out of the ordinary. I've been watching the United documentary on Amazon Prime, and I'm loving it. I'm halfway through episode 3. I mean, Phil Neville's making me laugh with all the swearing. It's like he's like the kid who's trying to act all tough, keeps throwing in the F word and the C word. But what a great glimpse of what success at Manchester United used to be built upon. Hard work, training, you know, demands, standards. But we used to make bad signings under Sir Alex, Jemba, Cleverson, you know, the list goes on and on. Oberton, loads of bad signings. Loads of managers make bad signings. Anthony's not worked out yet. Onana, I think, will work out, but it's a tough first season. Schmeichel had a tough first season. De Gea had a tough first season. And Mason Mount, I mean, I don't think you can blame Ten Hag on Mason Mount. Mason Mount as a signing, not a bad signing. Mason Mount medical background. It's not Erik ten Hag's job to get Mason Mount's medical records and run the fitness tests and run the medicals. That's just terrible recruitment. So, or it's bad luck. It's one of the two. I think Mason Mount could still come good. I agree the De Gea decision was a bad decision. But I wouldn't be judging a manager exclusively on... Look, as I always say, we're approaching a transfer window. I've said this for years. You name me a manager that's got a transfer success rate higher than 60%, and I'll call you a liar. I think history proves it. Jose Mourinho, Pep Guardiola, Sir Alex Ferguson. If you can hit 60% of your signings being good, that's always been the established benchmark. If you can get 60% of your signings to be really good signings, then you're very good as a manager. It's very rare that it goes above that. And that's why Real Madrid are really impressive at the moment, because I guarantee Real Madrid's signings over the last 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, they've got to be touching 70%. There will be a few duds in there, of course, but for every Vinicius Junior, there'll be a bad signing. You know, for Manchester United, for every Martinez, there'll be a Malacia. You know, it's just natural. It's hard. It's hard. Really is hard. Aki says that Erik ten Hag's transfer success rate is barely 5%. Mate, come on. You need to grow up and wake up. Come on. Toby, welcome to Members Club. Thank you very much. Jeffrey says, I can't wait for the transfer window. It might be the best yet. Silence must make us anxious, but it might not be a bad thing at times. Positivity. Yeah, look, just very, very quickly, just because I don't want to just say that's a silly point about 5% and not hit it back. Eriksen was a really good signing until Andy Carroll basically ended his Premier League career. Martinez has been a very, very good signing, but injuries have been a problem. Rasmus is actually getting better and better, considering this is only year 3 of his career. Who else? I don't really judge Onana and Mount yet. It's only year 1, and I think there's mitigating circumstances. You don't judge a signing after 1 year. Who else has he booked? Casemiro was my player of the year last year. This year it's not been so good. So, I mean, is that a good signing or a bad signing? It's Malacia looked okay year 1 as a backup left back and has been out for a year. So, I think Anthony is one that's concerning. There is no doubt about it. But you could even argue there's some mitigating circumstances when his whole pre-season is destroyed by being arrested in Brazil. I'd say Ten Hag at the moment is around 50% on his transfers. And it does need to get better. But also, as a manager, your transfers are only as good as the team above you. Like, the structure above you's got to be good. I hate to be the prophet of truth, but managers don't go out scouting, recruiting, negotiating transfer fees and doing the medical. You need a team around you. And you can see the success of that at Liverpool over the years, Manchester City, even Arsenal now. A manager can talk about... And also, the big mic drop is, how many option 1 or 2 signings did Ten Hag get? Casemiro wasn't even option 1. Martinez, weirdly, wasn't even option 1. So you've got to look at things like that as well. I don't like the number 7 shirt without earning it, says the alien. Thank you very much. And Alicia, thank you very much for your joining the members club. Absolutely love that. Right, let's talk about Mason Greenwood and Jadon Sancho. Always a nice topic of divisiveness, but we don't avoid all that. So there are 2 stories to talk about this morning. Let's talk about Mason Greenwood first, because it's more of a concrete story. So we know that Juventus are very interested in Mason Greenwood, and we know that Atletico Madrid are very interested in Mason Greenwood. I know that Barcelona are interested in Mason Greenwood, but they've got absolutely no financial capability to do a deal with Man United unless it involves some weird swap deals, which neither club would want to do a proper swap deal because it doesn't really help on FFP. So it would almost be, we'll sell you this player if you sell us this player. So Barcelona I wouldn't rule out for Mason Greenwood, but certainly Atletico Madrid has been sustained interest, and Juventus as well. Napoli have now entered the race. This is coming in from Italian reports, Corriere dello Sport, that Napoli are very, very interested in Mason Greenwood as they look to go for the title again next season. It's really interesting. Obviously, we've had stories of Premier League clubs being interested in Mason Greenwood, of which it isn't Chelsea, by the way. Chelsea are not in for Mason Greenwood. It's more likely, I'm told, if there are Premier League clubs in for Mason Greenwood, it will be your Fulhams and your Crystal Palaces. And I'm not attaching Fulham and Crystal Palace to Mason Greenwood. What I'm saying is it's going to be the mid-table clubs that are going to look at that sort of a deal. It's not going to be anyone from the top 6 or 7. Logically, Man United and I think Mason Greenwood will be looking at a European club and the biggest club that they can get. Collectively, Mason Greenwood's going to want to get himself as high as he can, as quick as he can, and Man United are going to want to get that transfer fee as high as they can, as quick as they can. There is a total and utter establishment and agreement between both parties at the moment that he will be sold, and all parties are working efficiently to try and get that done ASAP, because Mason Greenwood obviously will not be playing in the Euros and wants to be able to go away on holiday in June, knowing where he's coming back at the start of July, because he didn't get that last season and obviously went to Getafe very late in the transfer window and was sat twiddling his thumbs in July and early August. So he wants to come back and hit the ground running with a proper pre-season with the club he's going to play for. And Man United obviously will be looking at the deal and going, well, yeah, we want to get the money in as quick as possible and move on. So there's a combined maturity, effort and professionalism to do this deal really, really quickly. And I think in June, during the Euros, this deal will get announced. I don't know where it's going to be at the moment, but there is a real, I would be I'll say it here now. I'll be stunned from what I'm hearing if Mason Greenwood hasn't signed for another club by June the 30th. The official announcement might happen in July because of various transfer windows, etc., FFP and all that stuff. But I think we'll get a here we go from Fabrizio way before that. So I'm thinking June. Where he'll end up, well, look, for Manchester United and Mason himself, I think it's really exciting. Like, I think he will have no shortage of offers, and that's beneficial for us, and it's beneficial for him. Napoli entering the race. There is really clearly a belief in Italy that he can do a job in that league, which I think is exciting in itself. He's proven that he can do it in La Liga. And unless a German club comes in, which I don't think they will, then I think he's going to be playing in Italy or Spain next season. The question is whether he goes Atletico Madrid or Barcelona, or whether he goes Juventus or potentially Napoli. Now, Napoli are going to have a substantial amount of money available this summer, because the Napoli situation doesn't hit us, but Osman could move for a very lot of money. There's talk of PSG, and Kvaratskhelia could well be on the move to Manchester City for a lot of money. So there is a lot of money floating around for Napoli, and if they did sell one of those players and used 35 million of it to bring in Mason Greenwood, I think it's a good deal. So there's no shortage of suitors for Mason Greenwood, and I think the interesting thing is that basically in a month's time, I think this deal will be pretty much done. The question is where he's going to be on that one. On Jadon Sancho, by all means, let us know where you'd like him to go. I would like to. It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter. It really doesn't matter to me. I think Juventus, Napoli, Atletico Madrid, Barcelona are all very, very good clubs. The biggest name is Barcelona, but that might not be the best place for him. If Greenwood's long-term plan is to resurrect his career, then he needs to play football. And I don't know whether Barcelona is necessarily the right place for him. It's the biggest club, definitely the biggest club, but, Napoli, Juventus, and Atletico Madrid might be the better place for him to go. Anyway, let me talk to you about Jadon Sancho. So, funny story this morning, and I wanted to bring it in because I want to get a new poll on the go here. So, 66% of you say Amrabat should stay. That's where we are with that. Get your comments in. But loving the show this morning, by the way. I'm just so passionate about talking about transfers and change at Manchester United. We desperately need it. So, let's just do a straight up either or. One of these players is our right winger next season. Well, our right winger option. We're still hopefully going to have Ahmad, Garnacho and others. But if I'm saying to you, if you're watching live, get in the poll. If you're not watching live, get in the comments. You can have Sancho or Elise. Sancho comes back, or you spend £55 million on Elise and you let Sancho go. Which way are you going to go on that one? There is a story this morning. Now, admittedly, it's from The Sun. Now, that's not what's pricked my ears up or anywhere else. This is based around just it sort of got my mind going this morning. So apparently Jadon Sancho is going to buy a multi-million-pound property round the corner from Erik ten Hag this summer. And the story goes that, well, why would you do that if you're not coming back to Manchester United? Now, it's in the sun and it might get completely and utterly sat down very, very quickly, because we've had this before. Players are buying this and then the player comes out and says, no, I'm not. But is there any realistic prospect of Jadon Sancho coming back to Manchester United? And would it be such a bad thing? He has played well. Not as well as some people think at Dortmund, but obviously the Champions League semi-finals were good games, but he's not done that every week, far from it. But he's in a happier place. He's showing way more form than he has at Man United. Is there any prospect of him coming back? Well, if he comes back under Ten Hag and Ineos, he's got to apologise. There's got to be some sort of discussion to agree to work forward. If Ten Hag gets sacked, he's got to get on with a manager that he's never worked with before and agree to work with them. And of course, there's always going to be the risk of that when you go back to a situation that went wrong, is the trust gone? Will the fans get on board with it? You know, will he be able to get on board with it? Does he want to do it? Does the club really want it? Does he fit the blueprint of what Ineos are talking about, you know, consistency, etc., etc.? So if you did decide to take Jadon Sancho back, there are a lot of red flags. Whereas if you sign Elise, it's a fresh start. It's a new player with a blank canvas where, yeah, it could go wrong, but they've not got no history at the club, so they just have hopefully come in with the right attitude from day one. I would never say never in relation to Jadon Sancho coming back, but I don't really think that it fits in. I think if the Glazers were still in charge, it would not surprise me at all. You know, if the Glazers were still in charge, I'd expect to see Donny van de Beek, Christian Eriksen, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Brandon Williams, Jadon Sancho, the lot, all back in training and going on the tour. That's just Glazeronomics, that we wouldn't move these players on. And we're predicting on what is basically a blueprint that we haven't had any evidence of at the moment. It's just a plan. But I don't think the Ineos plan is to bring Donny van de Beek back to Carrington on July the 1st, or Mason Greenwood, or Brandon Williams, or Christian Eriksen, or Jadon Sancho. I don't think it is. So I don't think we will see Jadon Sancho back at Manchester United. I don't know what the house thing's about. Maybe just likes the area, although I think he's from London. I don't know what that's all about. But I think if I was being completely honest, and I'm somebody that, you know, when I see Sancho playing well, it gets me excited about why we spent 2 summers trying to sign him. It just hasn't translated to Manchester United. But I look at the Sancho situation and I think if United were to keep him, it would be a financial decision. And I really don't want to be talking about financial decisions anymore. I think we will, but I don't want the financial thing to be a focus of our summer transfer window. I think already we've done it with Varane. I think that's a financial decision. I really do. I think Varane will play against Man City because he's our best centre-back with Martinez, and yet we're letting him go because of money. The Varane thing is about money. There's no doubt about it. I don't want to see us bringing Sancho back and not signing Elise because it's cheap. That if you're a football club that runs itself based on a bank account, then you will always be a football club that runs itself on a bank account. And we've been doing that for 10 years. I want this football club to be run on football. If that means we have to take on, you know, a little bit more debt to get the right players in and the right players out, well, we shouldn't be in debt in the fucking first place. We're in debt because of financial issues brought on by the Glazers. We need to accumulate to be successful. I don't want this football club making financial decisions. So for me, it would be Elise because I think the only reason to bring Sancho back is a financial one, and I think it's a risk. Give us your thoughts, though. 86% of you would go with Elise over Sancho. Right, I want to talk about the midfield situation here. A couple of stories. Obviously, we spoke about Amrabat at the start. Let me just get some of your comments on this, though. Sancho is too weak for the Premier League, says So, one of the members. 50 million for Sancho and 40 million for Greenwood, says Old Trafford. Greenwood and Sancho are in sort of the same situation, says Yudo. You know what? I'm going to do the poll because we don't not do difficult conversations on here. I I don't know whether we've ever done this, and it's completely hypothetical. And it's controversial in a sense, but if you had to bring one back, who would you bring back? Sancho or Greenwood? I'll leave that with you. Florian has given us a super chat. Thank you very much. Elise or Ahmad over Sancho or Anthony? I would prefer Greenwood over all of them, but that's kind of an unpopular opinion, says Florian. Amano says, Amrabat gets us no closer to City, Liverpool and Arsenal. I think that's a very intelligent comment. Elise is not good for United. Look at his stats last season, says Vivek as well. Any news on Pellistri? He'll be leaving, mate. He'll be leaving. There's no doubt about that. He will be leaving. RS7 says Elise is injury prone. Aaron says Sancho just isn't made for the Premier League, whereas Elise is. And I like Sancho, but if he's fallen out with the manager, he can't come back, says Sam. And Daniel Farr says Varane's an expensive part-time player. He's not consistent to keep around on those wages. You know, the interesting thing is, Daniel, let me just read. We have had this confirmed now. Josh Thomas says, is the poll based on football ability? Well, I think it has to be. If you're voting on Greenwood Sancho, it's got to be on footballing ability, on what you would rather have at Manchester United, of course. So Varane's a part-time expensive player. This last season that we've had, Varane has been available for more games than any other of our established centre-backs. So Varane might be our most expensive centre-back, but he's actually been available for more games than any other centre-back in this squad. So Lindelof, Evans, Maguire, Martinez, Luke Shaw, obviously apart from Wan-Bissaka and Dalot. Maguire's on 190 grand a week. Lindelof's on 150 grand a week. Don't know what Johnny Evans is on. Luke Shaw's on about 170 grand a week. So, yeah, Varane is expensive, but he's been available more than other defenders. So I think there is a bit of a myth around, yeah, let's get rid of Varane because he's expensive and he's always injured. Like, we have got a lot of other expensive defenders who haven't been available a lot this season. So, yeah, let's tell that story, but let's also be realistic. You know, you can't go get rid of Varane and keep Shaw, Maguire, Lindelof, Evans. You know, they've been injured a lot this season as well. And they're all pretty much approaching 30 or already in their early 30s. Varane, getting rid of Varane is not about ability. He's better than all of those lot. It's about the ability to clear a wage. But Varane might be 300 grand a week. If you got rid of Maguire and Lindelof, you've just saved 340 grand a week. So it's all about that. Let's talk about the midfield situation. There is a midfielder, I can't pronounce his name. He is Danish. He plays for Sporting Lisbon. He signed for them for about £20 million last summer and has now got an £80 million release clause, €80 million release clause. His name is Hjumland, and a lot of people really like him and feel that he would be a really good signing for Manchester United's midfield. And he may well be. He may well be, and he's certainly a player to keep an eye on in the Euros. The problem with it is he's only been at Sporting Lisbon for a year. He's been speaking to the press about his future, and he's basically said, look, I'm very happy at Sporting Lisbon, but in the future, who knows? So, of course, he's open to a move. But how you negotiate a deal for someone like that, who's got an €80 million release clause, I just don't know. I mean, you know, you're not that far away from the lad from Benfica, who has a €100 million release clause, who is also a very good player. So I like the idea of these lads from Portugal, but I do not like the idea of what their release clauses are, and they're notoriously difficult to deal with when they have these release clauses. I mean, look, Liverpool paid a lot of money for Darwin Núñez out of Benfica. You don't tend to get these players on decent, bargains. So as much as Hjumland looks like an interesting signing, I just don't think we've got that type of money this summer transfer window. I really, really don't. I mean, as somebody said the other day with Casemiro, because of the fact that we only bought him 2 years ago, the FFP value for him won't even do anything for us because of amortization. He's only been here 2 years and we spent £60 million on him. So even if we sell him for 35 million, I don't think we can put that into the financial fair play box because the depreciation isn't big enough yet. So I just don't see United having the money to spend over £50 million on anybody. Maybe we'll do it with the striker, but I certainly don't think we're going to be buying midfielders with that amount of money. I don't see where that money will come from, and we've got to be realistic. We're not going to be able to go and spend £300 million unless we sell players to the value of at least 175 million, and we're going to struggle. We're going to struggle with that one. So as much as he's a good player, I don't see how that's going to work out. I really, really don't. Shabazz says, United can't afford to pay high release clauses. We need to find up-and-coming players. We're going to have to be really, really clever in the transfer market, which leads me back to Rabiot. And we have been here twice before. Rabiot is available on a free this summer transfer window. His contract with Juventus is out at the end of June. Negotiations are going on with Juventus and other clubs at the moment. Man United have tried twice for Rabiot. First summer, we tried for Rabiot. Last summer, we tried for Rabiot. Will it be third time lucky? We'll certainly try. We'll certainly try. Whether he's the right player or not, Rabiot comes with a little bit of a reputation. Is that the right sort of player to bring into this football club? Is he the sort of player that's going to, disrupt it? Look, these are all valid questions, but I wouldn't rule out Man United looking at something like that because it's a free deal. It's a free hit. So, I think Rabiot's an interesting one. And if I was being asked whether I want Amrabat or Rabiot, Rabiot's better than Amrabat. There's no doubt about it. And they're virtually the same age. I think there's about a year between the two. So, yeah. But wages-wise, what are you going to pay? A lot of people saying, what about Rabiot and his mum? Look, I think Rabiot's been better the last couple of years. If you look at him in the World Cup, he was very, very good. He's been more consistent for Juventus, and maybe that's a maturity thing, and maybe Man United could benefit from that. But I would say, look, Rabiot's a good player, and I would say that on a free transfer, it's a really, really good deal. But what would the wages be? What would his motivation be? If you can get Rabiot to come to Man United when you're not even in Europe or you're in the Conference League, he's obviously motivated, but I'd certainly keep an eye on it. I don't know whether we'd follow through from that. Oscar says, is striker service still an issue next season? Oh, 100%. 100%. Mark Deacon, you're a legend. Welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much for joining. Get your badge in. Striker service is absolutely essential. Look at the last couple of games. We've had better control of the ball. We've created better chances because we're not constantly looking to shoot from the edge of the box or hit a 30-yard, 40-yard ball in behind for someone to sprint on. We're actually passing the ball around a little bit more, which, look, directly correlates. If you pass the ball around more in a game of 90 minutes, if you have more of the ball, the opposition has less of the ball. If the opposition has less of the ball, they'll have less shots on your goal. In the last couple of games against Arsenal and Newcastle, we've had more of the ball. And we've still conceded chances, but not as much. It's not the basketball game's gone because Man United get the ball and look for a Hollywood pass straight away. Whereas actually we've been a little bit more measured. And be interesting against Brighton tomorrow because they want to play a certain way. We could lose tomorrow. I'm going to do the preview later, but we could lose tomorrow. We're away from home. It's the final game of the season. De Zerbi and Brighton have had a crap season. They'll want to sign out on a positive. It'll be a very difficult game for United tomorrow. But what I want to see is Man United getting hold of the ball a little bit more. Ray Carl Brown, Amori has gifted 5 memberships. Absolute legend, Ray. Hope you're doing well. And also Xeon R34 says the whole recruitment should be based on whether or not the player now or in the future brings us closer to a title-winning squad. Amrabat/Rabiot don't. I like that mentality. I do like that mentality. I do, and I think you can certainly apply it to the current squad. Now is not the time for sentiment. Now the time is for ruthlessness. And we spoke about this with Rashford the other day, didn't we? It's almost like Rashford getting into a little bit of altercation with a fan at Old Trafford. And the sympathy brigade's out again. He's one of our own. Mank born and bred. Get behind Rashford. And I'm like, well, no, look, nobody should be giving him abuse in the studio, in the stadium. Absolutely not. No, that shouldn't happen. But that shouldn't cloud any decision on his future. We can't sympathetically keep players anymore. We have to be ruthless. Look, I think Maguire's done really well for Man United this season. I'd move him on for the reasons that have just been exposed there. Are these players going to take us closer to Manchester City and Arsenal? Harry Maguire is in his early 30s and he's an edge-of-the-box defender. So there's two reasons there. Doesn't play the style of football we want to play, and is also not a long-term option. Same for Lindelof. Same for Johnny Evans. We've already done it with Varane. Same with Casemiro. Aaron Wan-Bissaka is not as old as them, but he is a defensive right back. We need way more going forward. We need more creativity down the flank. Gotta go. Into the midfield, Eriksen. Same as Maguire, same as Lindelof. Not for the future and doesn't really suit the energetic way that we want to play. Casemiro, I've already mentioned. Donny, gotta go. Sancho, gotta go. Greenwood will go. McTominay, look. Great servant, scored a lot of goals this season. What does he bring to Man United other than passion? Not good enough. Doesn't take us close to Man City. Don't actually want him coming off the bench to take us close to Man City because we need better than that on the bench. So, gotta go. And they're all ruthless decisions. They're not based on agenda or any other stupid reason. It's based on exactly what the Super Chat said there. We need a mentality of how do we get close to Man City. And when I look at Man City and I look at their bench and it's got Alvarez on it and it's got Kovacic on it and it's got Doku on it, you know, and it's sometimes got John Stones on it, then the likes of Lindelof and Amrabat potentially and McTominay, it doesn't cut through. We've got to lose this passion. We've got to lose this. Oh, they're dedicated to the cause. Watch that documentary about 99. You've got talent and dedicated to the cause. We can't keep players because they've come through the youth or they try hard. They've got to be players that actually we look at and go, this team's capable of winning the league. And at the moment, we've got too many players where you go, they'll put a shift in, but they're not that good. And that's what needs to change, really, it does. And I think that's why when you look at people like Rasmus, Ahmad, Garnacho, Mainu, you know, players that have started to come through, you go, well, look, there's potential that those players are going to get better and be good enough. If they were all in their early 30s, I'd say time to move them on. But they've still got potential. They're all young and they're all driven. And that's what we need. Sean Turner says, no way we go for Rabiot. New backroom staff will more than likely scrap all long-term targets. Greenwood, Sancho, Maguire, McTominay and Aaron Wan-Bissaka. That's all homegrown. Perfect for FFP. Sell them with Ineos funds and it's a big budget, says Sean. Kaj says, what about Ian Matson for 35 million? Don't know why we're not in for him. Well, he's a Chelsea player. Probably. Yeah. Are you going to watch Connor versus Chandler UFC fight, says Pat? Wasn't planning to. And Finn says, love your content from New Zealand. Absolute legend. Well, what I am doing is I am doing a preview later for Brighton. So check that out on the channel. And tonight I'll be live from 10 o'clock. Ring walk at 11 o'clock. So yeah, looking forward to that. Fury versus Usyk on That's Football. It's going to be a cracking night. Hopefully it's good. Well, it will be a cracking fight one way or another. Don't want to jinx it, but it will. It's been a cracking show this morning. Absolute legends. So much for you to get your comments in on. If you weren't live or if you are live and you want to leave your comments under the video, please do. And not one bit about manager talk, which for me is always the mark of a good show. Absolute legends tonight. Absolute legends today, unless it is tonight. I will see you live on That's Football, and we've also got the preview coming out a little bit later for you as well. Take care, everyone. Have a great day or evening, and I will speak to you later. Take care.